Hi there. How you doing?
Hi, how are you?
Do you remember when you said, just offhand, not too many weeks ago,
I've already forgotten.
you forgot, well, yeah, and I knew that. You said, you know, I didn't mind not having a party for my retirement, but I really miss the letters. Take off your coat. We're going to do a little, this is your International Harvester Life, Linda Banter Blakeman. Take off your coat. That's the reason you had to come a little early. You can lay them here over in the chair. Step into the studio. Doug, you're going to be the audience.
Okay.
The audience sits here. The guest of honor sits over here. And I sit here right real close to you so we can stay friends.
This is really putting the pressure on me to do something for your retirement.
Oh, no. I expect a rap. Okay, so I thought
to get Rex Dodge to do the rap.
Yeah, I thought we would just talk first of all about how you started International Harvester.
Oh, I'm supposed to.
Yes. You'll be participating.
How did I start at International Harvester? After I tried for years and couldn't get
Didn't we all?
Yeah. Who was the lady in purchasing?
Ruth.
Ruth somebody.
Mm-hmm.
She knew my dad, and she told Dad about an opening in Human Resources. It was Sally Zimmerman's job because Sally was on education leave. And so I came out one more time because I never knew that you had to apply at different locations if you wanted to get into one of them.
So you were playing at MMC every time?
No, the main plant.
Yeah,
but
where Mary Marksdale was.
Yeah, but to get in at, where was that? Engineering.
Mm-hmm.
You had to go to engineering and apply. So good old Gary Osmond and
Howard Pond.
Howard Pond and Walt Hines. Yeah.
And so, why hadn't you gotten in before?
Couldn't pass the test.
Me either.
But
that was the watershed, wasn't it?
But they really needed somebody
yes.
at engineering.
And that's a clue.
And Gary Osmond was very kind and very patient.
And spoke very slowly.
Yeah.
That's what Howard did
and
for me. So did you get that word? Been there, done that. Okay, so then I know you were.
Wait, the cameraman is.
What?
Why don't you get a little closer to her?
She's afraid I'll hit her.
Well, that could be, yeah. You don't have to get that close.
Did you get a shot of the audience?
Yeah, I got the audience.
That's fine.
I know that you worked for Dean Stanley at one time at engineering because you and I were both secretaries and we didn't know each other, but we would, when you needed to reserve a conference room, I think at Design Center, you would, I was who you had to contact or vice versa.
I blocked all that out.
Well, what I remember is that you would send me neatly typed little notes that confirmed that we had reserved the conference room. That must have been
I didn't want you canceling.
That's right. No, but I was just really impressed. I thought
Dean was a big guy. You didn't want him mad at you.
I thought that was really, you know, I thought, oh, this is a really professional secretary because you and Lyle Thorne were the only ones that ever sent little notes. Cut that.
When I worked in Sally Zimmerman's job, it was split 50% with Human Resources and 25% each for Dean Stanley and Dave Harold.
Oh, okay, and that's when you worked for Dave Harold then?
Yeah.
Okay, and then how did you end up going to the Truck Reliability Center?
Well, they laid me off from engineering during that big layoff.
And that was kind of a prerequisite, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were hired in, you got laid off.
Yeah. I got to hang around longer than most because I was processing paperwork for those that were getting laid off. And then they found a temporary
I think that
job.
makes you a scam. Is that what they call the people that profit off of every other people's?
I lasted a little longer than this, but then I went over to Design Center for a little while and worked with Marlene Gomez.
Oh, okay.
On a special project they had going. I was doing typing on I think I was using a Magcard typewriter for the first time over there.
Because Marlene had one. She was the first, wasn't she?
Yeah. And then that saved me another month or so, and then I got laid off for 3 months. And then when they called me back, it was over to Reliability Center, working for Don Ullman.
Okay. All right, so that's the next thing. You go to the Truck Reliability Center, and you go, probably an innocent young girl, have no idea what you're getting into, walk up those steps to that office upstairs and go to work for Don Alleman.
Remember though, I had worked for Mike Fritchie at Central.
Oh, okay, all right.
And
So
nobody
you
liked
were,
Mike,
you
so
were
I was-
battle hardened.
Yeah.
And what was it fun interviewing with Don?
I don't remember interviewing with Don.
You blacked that out, haven't you?
Yeah. But I remember on my first day that I didn't have a chair. I was sitting on an upside down wastebasket. And I remember Jack Lamb walking in the door and just looking at me and going, and walking on into his office. I was going to be his secretary, and he didn't. That was his greeting.
Well, you probably went in his office, closed the door, and laughed because you were sitting in a wastebasket.
Could be.
So you worked up there with Don and Jack and Frank?
Frank Entwistle and the little squirrely guy who wanted to tell you exactly how to do everything.
Steve.
Jim Carrey. Was that his name? Jim Carrey?
Well, Jim Carrey,
Did he
there was
come
a Jim
after
Carrey.
Frank left?
There was a Steve, what's his name, that had the red borders on his letters that he sent to suppliers.
I don't remember
Okay.
him.
All right.
Did Jim Carrey come after Frank Entwistle left?
I think maybe.
Because it seems like he was in Frank's office.
Maybe so.
He would make me get out my secretarial handbook and explain to him why I had changed punctuation in a handwritten, where he would handwrite it out and he would very carefully put in the punctuation and then I would type it. And if I didn't do it exactly the way he wrote it, he would come out and say, okay, show me why you didn't do it that way.
And that was the reason you decided not to be a secretary anymore?
I kind of got to where I didn't think punctuation was that important.
However you want it.
Yeah.
Okay, so then how did you end up in accounting?
Remember George Davidson?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody must have left down there, or else the department was expanding. Anyway, George Davidson needed an assistant.
Oh.
And we put our offices down there in that little, what's now a storage closet.
Oh, I'd forgotten that.
Remember that?
Yes.
We each had
Where
an
all those
office
files
there.
are? That's where your office was?
Not where files are, where the supplies are.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I was in the supply room that's on the right as you walk in there, and he was in the other one.
Okay.
And we were there for a while, and then was there another layoff or something?
Have you been laid off more than once?
No, but somehow we later got moved back out there in that area where the key punch operators were.
And
right by that door that goes out
right.
to trade.
And that's when Janet Eatonson, or Janet Poitras joined you, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a temporary girl there named Marianne somebody.
Yes, I remember that.
And then Janet replaced her.
Okay.
So Janet and I worked together out there.
And George wasn't the most interesting person you worked in for in accounting. I think the next person was probably the most interesting person.
Yeah.
Was that John?
John Hall.
Okay. And what were some of the funny things that he said? Well, first of all, he was from Minnesota.
And didn't want to be in Fort Wayne.
Right. And so he kept his Minnesota plates.
And he got transferred here unwillingly. It was either transfer or lose your job.
Okay.
And so he griped about everything about Fort Wayne. He even said it was colder in Fort Wayne than it was in Minnesota.
Which we all knew was a lie.
And
oh, I know that you were always late.
yes, I was chronically
You might
late.
cut that from the tape. She was always late. This was her former life before she was such a good girl.
We'd usually walk in about 10 after 8. And one day I got in there at 8 o'clock on the dot. And John Hall looked at me and said, "What's the matter? Couldn't you sleep?"
Doug, do you get the feeling this is going to take the entire 20 years?
No, we're just going to hit the funny people.
Okay.
Where are we
Okay.
now, 1963?
I think, yeah, we're right around, we're somewhere in the mid-60s.
Okay, no, I think we're in the 70s now.
Actually, I didn't even
We started in
start then.
74, so we started in the 70s. Okay, and then you and Janet worked for John. And then when John left, who took over?
Ken Bowen.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I remember at John's retirement party, Ken was also in attendance, and John asked Ken how many bosses he had been used to having in the past, and Ken said 1, and John says, "Well, you got 2 now."
That was you and Janet. And that came to be true, didn't it?
Sure, we ruled him with an iron thumb.
And really, that was the job you had then until you left.
Right.
How long
It
did you work?
evolved.
Yes.
It kind of spread out and moved over partly into human resources. Well, at the time, there wasn't any human resources department, so we were doing it, but it just wasn't called human resources, then it was called accounting.
You were kind of a satellite, weren't you? Did you get your, were we supposed to be under engineering and you guys just kind of were the one that, whoever took care of it in the building?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, how long did you work for Ken?
Gosh, I don't know. Years.
Yeah.
Until he retired.
Well, I know it was years too. I just thought maybe you had a better idea of how many years.
It was at least 10 or 11.
Okay, so you worked 26 years when you retired.
It was 27, I think.
Was it
I
2 years
started-
ago? We have
It'll be a year and a half, but remember, my official retirement date was something like February.
Of 2001?
Yeah, I think so, because I got 6 months of separation pay.
Right, okay. All right, well, anyway, when you told me that you wouldn't have minded getting the letters, I woke up in the middle of the night that night and I thought, we can do that. So I just collected some letters. And I'll give you the book of letters, but I cut out some excerpts, and these are going to make you really teary. So do you have a tissue? Okay, well you'll just have to use your sleeve. And I've seen you do it before. I've seen you do it before. Just use your sleeve if you get emotional. Okay. I think about
You wrote them all yourself.
Yeah, right.
Signed everybody else's name.
Yes, but they'll never deny it. I think about your unwavering support, which benefited all the employees in our organization. You accomplished an unbelievable amount of work with efficiency and accuracy. It is only after you were gone that the employees truly realized the caring way you provided support and information for them. But they always knew about your loyalty, dependability, honesty, and integrity. Mary Barksdale. Linda, I will never forget what you did for our department starting October 25, 1991. While I was in the hospital and recovering for bypass surgery, you ran the department and put in a tremendous number of hours, doing your job and my job to get the year closed out that year. No one else could have done such a job as you did that year. Ken Bowen. I didn't have the opportunity to thank you properly before you left on your retirement for all the assistance you gave me when I moved from Springfield to Fort Wayne, Don Circle. I remember when you worked upstairs for Colonel Don
We're
Ulliman.
doing anything for Don Circle.
That would be my twin. You do remember him.
I won't get teary over that one, but I don't remember helping.
See, you did it so smoothly, so unobtrusively that...
It was just such a natural part.
Yes, it was. that helped. I just saw you constantly reaching out to people, wanting to help. Well, and then sometimes I heard you getting snippy with them on the phone, but I don't think they were the same people. Did I say that out loud? I didn't have, oh, that was the same one. I don't need to read that. You're not going to get teary over it anyway, are you? Okay. I remember when you worked upstairs for Colonel Don Ulliman, and you helped me with the Warranty Administration Manual project. That was BC, before computers, when everything had to be typed. That was also the era when Jack Lamb, Bill Evans, Dick McKenzie, and Frank Entwistle worked up there and used to spend a good portion of the morning hours figuring out where to go for lunch. Art Cicelo.
Kind of like you and I in later years.
Of course, we spent very little time doing that, just briefly. I was telling someone the other day of the time you were conferring with me regarding buying a new computer. After I'd rambled on a while about CPU speed, RAM types, and front and rear bus speeds, etc., you said, "Hold it, I just want to know which bus holds the most people. That's the one I'll get." Gary Coffey.
I remember that.
Linda, I think of all the times you used to help me out with my expense account and working on budgets, and I wonder how you had such patience. Thank goodness you did, though. Rex Dodge. I was just sitting here playing solitaire and you crossed my mind. I wonder how I ever made that connection. Dave Dodson. He wrote that in the evening. He didn't write that during working hours.
Even after we changed systems and solitaire disappeared, he showed me how to find it.
What a good guy. He had his priorities. Your high level of performance was always appreciated, and more important was your conscientious approach to doing the right thing in all situations. I often find myself thinking, it sure would be nice to have Linda back helping through some of these